Hey, what's up, everybody? This is A.L. Johnson with Elevating Men. We have a special show tonight. I know you see some different faces here. We got Mr. Mitchell Sudduth. He is the promoter of the Black Wall Street play coming to Kansas City Music Hall this Friday. Next to him, we have Mr. Carlos Nelson, the owner of Cascade Media Group, What's Up Worldwide, and a host of other ventures. Below Mr. Sudduth, we've got Mr. Kareem Jackson, the international businessman, also owner of Black KC Magazine. And of course, I know you know my brothers on the left and right at the bottom, Dinner and Dialogue, resting2050.org, as well as Mr. LaRon Barnes, our resident motivational speaker and life coach. This is a special conversation. We're going to be talking about Black Wall Street. We're going to be talking about self-sufficiency, rebuilding our economies, our community, and much more. You don't want to miss this. We're going to have a really quick word from our sponsor. So I want you to go ahead and grab your drink, grab your popcorn, whatever you need to do. This is going to be a great show. We'll be right back.
You're tuning into the fitness way, light sway. So you better get ready.
Oklahoma's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the most prosperous African-American communities in the country. But on May 31st that year, 35 city blocks went up in flames. Now, hear the truth in the most prolific stage play. Don't miss Deep Greenwood, the hidden city of Black Wall Street, with special musical guests Byron Cage and Shirley Murdoch. Friday, October 7th, 7 p.m. in the Kansas City Music Hall. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Presented by the Self-Unity Group.
About it. Black Wall Street. We got Mr. Mitchell Sudduth here, Kansas City Music Hall this Friday. Tell us a little bit about the play and give us a little background and history on Greenwood. A lot of people don't know about this. I saw a video, Tom Hanks, he kind of explained how upset he was that he grew up in America. He had history class all through school, never heard of Greenwood, which happened just a couple years before his father was born. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, Black Wall Street it actually occurred in Greenwood. It's Greenwood, Oklahoma, which was right across the railroad track from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And for the most part, it's been turned into a fact-based musical and theatrical play, stage play. in which it talks about Black folk coming together to form a business district, which is kind of unheard of in the 1900s. And this happened like in the early 1900s and whatnot. In fact, there were other communities in the same way in other territories of the South and the Midwest. But this happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma area. A guy by the name of J.B. Stratford and O.W. Gurley came together and they purchased some plots of land, about 40 acres of land, and they would only sell them to Black entrepreneurs. And so thus creating Black Wall Street, or at that time, which was coined, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Booker T. Washington. He coined it as Negro Wall Street at that time, but now we just call it Black Wall Street. You know, it had over 100 businesses. I mean, I'm talking about grocery stores. It had like 3 grocery stores, banks, theaters, restaurants, hotels, lawyers, lawyer offices, doctor offices. Also, even had private planes. And so I'm saying this is truly a Wall Street territory in the country, in terms of, and that's why they call it Black Wall Street. And so the play talks about all of that, you know, the successes, how it came about, and the successes, and then also talks about the gruesome, 12 hours of American history that deals with the massacre that occurred in terms of the folks who tried to destroy Black Wall Street. So.
And so when I read about it, 35 city blocks essentially torched and set on fire. When I read the story, it sounded like there was some jealousy. And so Black Wall Street was thriving. There were some people that bought a plot of land. They opened grocery stores, banks, everything that the mainstream society has. And there became jealousy because they were growing so rapidly that they burned down 35 city blocks. So to imagine that all of these things happen and it's not a big part of American history makes absolutely no sense. Before we got on this call, I was actually just on a Zoom with Andrew Boykin, and he has a nonprofit called The Restoration that really seeks to address a lot of the issues that happen with Black Wall Street. And so, Andrew, can you just kind of speak to how does that happen, right? They came together, but what was the missing piece that allowed them to have all of that torn down at one time? No justice in any form, no reparations, no compensation to the family. Where was the backup? Because I've heard that there were more situations than this particular one in Greenwood. What happened?
So just my own understanding of personal research. The United States, when they united those territories, they had sheriffs and stuff like that. And when trouble arose, they would call the local sheriff, and sheriff and his deputy and his posse would respond. But if trouble was more than what they could handle, sometimes the army was called, and they had forts in various locations. What I liken those to be today are like the National Guards, the National Guard that guard this nation, and in many cases they guard this nation from this nation, so that there will be no internal uprise. We have our active duty that guards abroad, but we also have a nation's guard, a National Guard, and they are strategically located in every state, and in many cases satellites in some cities, in many cities. So when you say what happened and stuff like that, my question to me is, how connected were we? Or in this instance, how disconnected were we then? And is that still prevalent? Meaning, are we still destined to recreate something that could be susceptible to a disconnection?
That's an interesting question, because I see the Black Wall Street name being used a lot, the new Black Wall Street. And so it seems like there's a resurgence of entrepreneurial effort in the Black community. We're all pushing to rebuild. And that's a good question. If we were to rebuild it today, would the same thing still happen? Mitchell, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, from my perspective, what I've seen and how I look at this is that I look at even from Mansa Musa, which is the world's richest man ever, in Africa, and people like that. We have gotten conquered. And I say that in the sense of we build these things, or we build our communities, and then we're not ready to protect it. And so to me, that's the biggest part of why that happened in Black Wall Street. There's some other elements to that too, because when you have the laws against you not being able to own handguns and things of that nature, legal to own handguns, but they let you, own a rifle, but not a handgun, then, you have the laws against you, which and to my knowledge, we're the only culture that ever had, laws enacted against us to keep us from, operating or surviving or living the American dream. But when you have all these things against you, to me, it's amazing that we even came up, in the 1900s like we did. But I understand why we came up. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want to have anything to do with, the blacks at that time. And so we had all the labor. We knew how to build. We knew how to farm. We knew everything in that sense because we always did all the work. And so with that being said, we created our own. And like you said, there was some jealousy involved, absolutely. But I think there was government's hand was in that, because there was over 200 communities like this thriving across the country. You can go look it up. It's called Red Summer Massacre. If you go look these things up, you'll see there was over 200 communities thriving, just like Tulsa, Greenwood, except that was probably one of the most successful establishments across the country. With that being said, once again, what happens is we build these things, but we didn't have necessarily the army to protect it. And from my understanding with Greenwood, we were winning. We were kicking some butt. We were fighting back. Don't get me wrong. But when they came and dropped the bombs, you know what I mean, setting houses on fire and then shooting people as they're running out the homes, how can you compete with that? You follow what I'm saying? And so,
absolutely, yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's just the fact that we've got to be ready. You say, can it happen again? Absolutely, it can happen again if you're not ready. And so I implore people, people say, hey, guns cause violence and things like that. No, people cause violence that have guns that don't know what to do, or they're careless or negligent with what they're doing. You know what I mean? Or hot-headed, or whatever the case may be. But we've got to learn how to start protecting ourselves and the things that we build. I worked in corporate for a long time, and I built up $1 million company. And the lesson that I took from that, because they took that from me, is that always protect what's yours. You follow what I'm saying? And so I'm saying we got to start thinking about that in terms of protecting what's ours. Be ready. When we build another Black Wall Street, be ready to have folks in place. Hey, if you come over here, we ready for you. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that just to be radical, but I'm just saying that's just a matter of survival. You follow what I'm saying? Mere survival.
Absolutely. Mr. Nelson, and I'm going to come to you next, Kareem, because there's a specific question I have for you. But Mr. Nelson, you have interviewed a lot of the political figures here in our community. You've been doing that over the past decade or longer. And so you've had a lot of these different conversations. What part does politics play in all of this? Is it an issue of our people not representing us properly when it comes to protections, when it comes to economic fortitude, banking, lending, the ability for us to recreate this? How much does politics play into that?
100%. Let me make this clear in short order. All right, you have the 1% or the 10% of the wealth controlled on the planet by 1 to 10% of the people. So all the corporations that are on the planet are basically run by that group of people. The corporate community controls politics. And so politics make the laws that govern you.
Absolutely.
And that is what has you handcuffed. Now, when it comes to our people, All we have to do is vote as a block, buy as a block. That makes us one of the most powerful communities on the planet.
Absolutely.
Now, here we go to the answer to your question about this politics. Make the difference. Makes all the difference. But money silences truth. And the money that's in politics through the corporate rations around the planet silences your voice. And so with Cascade Media Group understanding that media controls minds. So who controls the media? Europeans have controlled 100% of all forms of communications on this planet since the 7th century. Now, when you start painting the Almighty as a European and the church ever since the 7th century basically was telling you what to believe and shaping history. They call it whitewashing history. And since the internet age, you've been able to access information that is contrary to what you have been brought up to believe. But as they used to say when I was a youngster, and I'm 71, anything you want to hide from a black man, put it in a book. All right. But now it's not a book. It's the internet. And you have access to all of this information. But media controls minds. Ever since black people came to America, our minds have been controlled. They controlled how we thought, what we thought. And so it continues, Black Wall Street continues from a mental and a psychological standpoint. Today, they don't have to bomb Wall Street, Black Wall Street. They've done your mind. And you do not even realize that they've done your mind, nor do you want to recognize that. And I liken that to the Matrix. If you've ever watched the Matrix, they don't want private business. They definitely don't want black people to unite. Why do they call it whitewashing? As Muhammad Ali used to say, everything bad is black. The black cat, the black this, the black that. And all of those things through the internet and media, you can find out the opposite. Everything they say was bad was really good. And when you don't have, or you have access to the information and you don't use it, then you find yourself in the situation that we find ourselves in as a community, with people that supposed to represent us, that look like us, but they are of the world. And at this particular time in the world, it's really more important to be in step with the people that's controlling the paychecks. And every one of us on this panel knows that no matter if you are a trash worker or a janitor, if you have some conversation that's out of line, you might not have a job tomorrow. And
but listen, Mr. Nelson, you are spot on. And I hope those of you that are listening are understanding the wealth of knowledge that is on this panel. Mr. Nelson has had access to some of these backroom conversations for a very, very long time. And so I hope you're listening. Brother Kareem here has had similar conversations and having media companies across the globe, award-winning magazines. He's had a fight with the Kansas City Star that was pretty popular, so you can actually Google that information. And we have conversations about politics quite a bit. And one thing that I'd like you to touch on is how difficult is it for us to even get the correct information, just to find out who's on the ballot or what's in a bill, and how does media play into that?
You talking about me, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, well, thanks for having me here, man. I appreciate it. All you brothers. I'm so proud to be here with you guys and everybody out there watching. You're not going to get this in your regular, local shows and local situations. So I'm glad that you guys are tuning in and watching this, whether live or on the replay. Man, I'm gonna tell you this, is that my family's from Kansas City, Missouri. You guys all know my family. I'm sure all of you, we've connected in some way or another. And I've been in business since I was in elementary school. And the company that I had in Kansas City that was Minority Success was the first Black business I ever had. And brother, I tell you, it was a target on your back. It was a target on your back, especially being Black, as Nelson said, in media. You know, you were attacked by everywhere. They don't need to burn down the Black Wall Street anymore. All they got to do is make it to where they double my price for printing, so that so I got to go out of business. I'm not burnt down, but they might as well burn me down. They limit what you can say. They don't give you access. But I will say this caveat too, brothers. The same as they don't need Black Wall Street anymore, we don't need Black Wall Street anymore. Now we can make our money without them knowing it too. We can make our money around the world, online, everywhere as well. So now I think that the history is significant, because I believe that people need to see why we are where we are, and whether it's a Black janitor, things like that as well, and some of the situations where some folks that have not gotten free, have not gotten, level up in their communities. But in the day, I think the thing that they do very well, and especially in Kansas City and in America, on the American plantation, is that we don't know how awesome we are. We're so busy fighting white people that we don't realize we're in the top 20 globally. We're better than we got more money than Mexico, more money than Israel. We got more money than all of their white nations. We got more money than them, but they keep us so fixated on competing with them that we don't realize, why don't we compete with Mexico? Why don't we compete with, Israel and all of these places they want to go to, and understand that the Black community, Black Wall Street now is global. We're Black America. When you travel the world, they know Black America, and all of the propaganda that they've done in America with Black folks, that's only in America. When you leave America, that crap don't exist. So media wise, it's like you said, I had a hell of a time. I'm sure, Nelson, you know this because you've been doing it longer than me. My dad is 73. It's like doing it in Kansas City was hell. I saw more racist crap. They couldn't really touch me, because I'm a Jackson. I got lawyers, and they couldn't really touch me, but I would watch them jail my advertisers. I would watch them harass my advertisers. I would watch them make me pay thousands to have a party for Black folks. I had to have the police that I paid. I had to have the liquor control that I paid. I had to have the fire department that I paid. I had to have the politicians that I paid just to have Black folks get together for an event. And so I saw how they treated Black folks, because my other companies, they didn't know I was the owner. So there was never really any issue. I never have gotten minority Black funding besides in my family's construction company. I've never needed their money. I've never had a loan from a bank for them. None of that crap. So they couldn't really get me. But I will say this, brother, is that Black Wall Street is a definite, you got to see it. You got to learn the history. But we need to understand, too, is that we don't need Wall Street anymore either. We have the internet. We can sell without touching you. We can connect. We can have shows like this. We don't need their platforms. We don't need to be on their news anymore. We don't even need to be in the Star and the Globe and all these. We don't even need any of those anymore. We can all have our own piece. So I think the game has changed, but they've got us stuck on stupid back in the States, brother. That's how I feel about it.
I,
Hope that's not.
I agree with that. I
Andrew,
agree with that.
You know,
Andrew,
Yeah,
Andrew,
that's huge. That's huge. Mitchell, you had something you wanted to
Mitchell, yeah, I'm
add?
sorry. Yeah, Mitchell.
I just wanted to say a few things. I wanted to address the politics thing first, and just kind of go down the line here. In dealing with the politics, I run for office, and you're absolutely right, Nelson. A lot of things that you're saying is spot on, but it goes even deeper than that. When you have organizations that are not putting the best people in place, and you've got groups, voting block groups, such as the African Americans in Kansas City. There's a particular organization, Freedom Inc., that people typically vote and they trust them, and they don't put the best people forward for those positions. Then we still continue to have the same things that we're getting, no development east of Truce, not one single family chain restaurant east of Truce. And you can look at it. All you have to do is hear everything I'm saying right now. There's hadn't been one family chain restaurant east of Truce in over 25 years. Think about that, right? Not only that, no development east of Truce, and significant development when I say that, east of Truce in 25 years. Last development we had was Swope Parkway Comprehensive Center over there where the grocery store is. And they put a grocery store on 31st in Linwood, but to me, that wasn't significant development. And so all these things come into play when you're talking about politics. It's all about us, going to reading who we're voting for. I literally was at the polls, and then I'm looking at several polls. Our Black folks walk up, and I'm going to put it on us. I can't say it's anybody else. We can't blame anybody else but us. But our Black folks would come to the polls and not even know who they're voting for. They're taking all this material from everybody and will sit in a voting booth, and whoever looks the best or whoever has the longest list, that's who they voted for. You know what I mean? Unless they had a conversation with you outside before they walked in there. But check this out. I'll tell you this too. Every single white person that walked up to the polls, and me or anybody else who tried to give them information, they would not take it. They were actually offended that you're trying to sway their vote. You understand what I'm saying? So the politics plays a great part of this, but we got to take some responsibility also in learning and knowing who we're actually voting for. And if they have our agenda in mind, are they speaking to development in our community? Are they speaking to bringing restaurants and businesses and creating jobs in our community? You know what I mean? And I'll say this. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it, man. I'm going to put it out here. So everybody will do it. And I probably should have said at the end. I started alluding to a lot of these things, but the fact of the matter is that my main opponent, which this organization backed, was a senior assistant or something of that nature. Now here I am, got project management experience, dealt with budgets of $1.5 million in between, got contract negotiation skills. You know what I mean? Deal with contracts every day, but I didn't get that job. Meaning the people didn't put me in position. You follow what I'm saying? And it wasn't
Mitchell, brother, I'm going to tell you this. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but I'm going to say this to you. We have been trying to do a vote edition for Black Kansas City for a year and can't get it done.
Okay. So when you say
we can't meet a special edition of our publication that showcases all the Black candidates. And I'm going to tell you this. Our Black candidates in Kansas City, a lot of them are embarrassing, brother. They don't have websites. They don't have graphics. They don't have social media platforms. They're literally sitting up here and unless they pay Freedom, right, to get on Freedom's ballot, and we showcase them for free, by the way. You could upgrade, of course, but it was so hard, and we're media. I couldn't imagine grandma, trying to find who the niggas I'm gonna vote for. Who am I? I couldn't, because we are literally, and I have 4 staffers looking for 25 Black people, and only about 25, right? Out of how many? And if you're my witness here, brother AL, because I tried to commission. I said, brother, maybe I'm crazy, but my staffers, I know 4 or 5 personally, but like Haley and some of the new ones, and the new brother that won in Kansas City, Kansas, the first Black mayor over there. I know Cleaver, I know people like that, but we couldn't even get the content to give to the people
Oh, they wouldn't interview with
Because
you. Is that what you're saying?
No, we couldn't even find their names, their contacts, their data. They're so half-assed backwards
Yeah,
that so it wasn't a good representation.
yeah.
And I don't
because
know.
like you can go to the
You have
election
to go to the
board.
state's web. You have to go to the state's
Yeah,
website.
what you're
But
gonna
what I'm
get
saying is,
is
I
this
shouldn't have to go to the
mile-long
state's website. Yeah, I have
Right.
800 pages I got from the state.
Gotcha.
800 pages for what I know is 20 black people.
Right.
And
right.
we had to figure out, look at the name, then go look at the picture. Oh, they black or not black or whatever, as opposed to something. And mind you, Freedom, love them to death. They've been around my whole life, but they're not doing anything ahead of time.
Right.
There is
They're
nothing I see consistently out there, but the white folks, they've been calling us for a year, trying to get us to promote to black folks for them. And there's 2 or 3, let me give them credit. There's 2 or 3 or 4, about 5 black folks that did contact us to be promoted, and we did help them market themselves. But besides that, we are really bad representing ourselves.
Yeah.
That's our issue. We are, so I'm saying, like you said, put it on ourselves. I'm saying we've been trying to do an edition, and we've been trying to do it for a long time, years.
So let me just say this
recently.
too.
Yeah.
Let me just say this too, and I think brother AB wanted to talk here too and say something. But let me just say this in regards to that. No, you're absolutely right. So with that being said, you're saying you can't even find the people to even do the interviews, to even know what their platforms are. Is that what
or they're running for an office and they don't even have a website for themselves.
Right.
The last post on Twitter for this person that the name is given to me by the state. I look at their Twitter account from the state. The last post is 2 years ago.
So guess what? A lot of those people don't want to be found. These are people who are running for these positions. Like in my opinion, the person who won our race, I just think she was just trying to pad her retirement. You know what I mean?
I can see that. It looks like it.
When you don't have the acumen for the job and you take the job, then what are you doing? You don't have ideas. You don't have the acumen. What are you actually doing in the job? That means you're just taking money. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I get exactly what you're saying. Some of these people don't want to be found because there was multiple forums that she didn't show up for that I was ready to get down. Well, I got down, you know what I mean? Period. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that was part of it. I wanted to speak to us two more things, and I know Brother AB wanted to say something too.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Real quick. But you were talking about earlier, Brother Kareem, about the internet, and you're absolutely right. The internet is you can do your thing on the internet. In my opinion, I still think that we need the Black Wall Streets, meaning this needs to be for us. I'm not trying to compete with other races, other people. I am trying to just compete with us and get us on the level to where we become a force. We're already a force, even divided. But if we come together, we're just unstoppable. Because just think about if Tulsa and the rest of those communities that were developed, and this only happened 100 years ago, 1921. Just think about if those particular communities were still going right now. You would have a modern day New York in the middle of the country. You follow what I'm saying?
Can I say this to you, brothers? I agree with you 100%. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in brick and mortar, but I believe
economics, though. We gotta have a group economics. That's power.
Can I give you a little pushback, brother?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I agree with you, but I think that's yesterday. We're begging for something that is tired. How we can kill them is kill them online.
Absolutely.
Because we can't catch up on the ground. You're right. We can't. It would take another 10 years to develop something. While the internet, by the time that we get done with that and then get a website for the restaurant that's going to open in the development, we are behind. As opposed to black folks realizing we're the leads in everything. So let's take over digital. Because Shantae doesn't need a restaurant anymore. She can do hot plates and sell them online. What's his name? He don't need a store for his clothing line anymore. He can open up a boutique and I don't mean no LC either. I mean a real damn website, and he can kill Walmart, which is already dead. But you feel my point.
I
you don't need, and mind you, when you get these stores, let me tell you this too. You don't need to beg the government for licenses. You don't need to beg for a damn lease. You don't need to beg for the phone company to come over. You don't need the police department to protect your building. So the internet, I'm not disagreeing with Wall Street. Don't get me wrong. I think we need to do both. But I believe where we can leapfrog white people, because the world is online and the world loves black people, specifically black American people. Out here, brother, there is black privilege. I cannot walk in without an appointment to Kansas City mayor, even when it was the black brother. I could do it to Kay Barnes. She was cool. But besides that, I can't do that. None of y'all here could probably do that. If you can, you know you're lucky.
So let me jump in there real quick.
I can walk into the mayor of the Philippines without an appointment because there is black privilege.
Let me jump in there real quick, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah,
because what I think I hear, imagine if in 1921 the brick and mortars not only still existed, but they evolved over time. So that means as the internet was transforming and coming into life, so were they. And not only is the foundation and the brick and mortar starting to spread out because they are now operating internationally, because they have been operating for the past 50 years, and then into the 1950s, into the 1970s, where laws were now affording us more opportunity and more freedom. But those brick and mortars are now participants in the internet that you talk about today. Right. So now we have partnerships overseas as well, so that we actually have people that are on the other end of that online transmission or that online conversation. Yes, online definitely does spread us out. And the brick and mortars does create a foundation in which we can stand on. The internet does not have the foundation, but it does have the access. Foundation plus access is even better than foundation or access.
Yeah. And
well, I think that's okay, but it's not gonna. But if you imagine 50 years from now, that's not gonna matter. And I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is, if we want to leapfrog them, let me tell you this: where's Facebook? Where's Instagram? Where's that? Where's Etsy store? Where? I mean, yeah, we know as Americans there's a building, but the whole world has no clue. So all I'm saying is that white big companies, as we've seen, are dying because they cannot perform online. It ain't just black folks. You know, white companies can't keep up. They're stumbling. Remember, they have this DEI campaigns. They have all these diversity, equity, because they need equity, because online they can't keep up. They're behind. So now you have an opportunity for the Brothers Barbecue to kill the barbecue white restaurant on the plaza. You know, you have an opportunity.
The beautiful thing in that, in which America can step in, is that with me selling a barbecue plate, or me selling 10 barbecue plates, or me selling 1,000 barbecue plates, now I have distribution. And right now we're only talking about the internet and communication and access. We're not talking about distribution. And then not only are we talking about distribution, but we're talking about port authorities. And we're talking about owners of other things that we have to cross.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why those
social media, but online, for example, can mean selling CDs. It could mean having a popular show like this that has $1 million a year in advertising dollars eventually someday. It doesn't have to be a product. That's what I'm saying. It's consulting, it's education, teachers. There are entire countries that their economy is online. If you buy anything from China, but when you're in China, their job is to get Americans or Europeans or Westerners to buy eyelashes from China.
Correct. You're absolutely correct.
If you think about it if it's Black America and white America, and then China and Japan and Korea and Australia and Israel, if Black America realized we can't beat you on the ground, you might burn our shit down, but we can beat China online, we can beat Korea online, and become the pushing force of pushing our products internationally. Because right now you can get eyelashes or some hair, some weave from China, but name me one Black person that's shipping to China.
That's very beautiful. That's very beautiful. The thing is And I'm not trying to be that negative force. I want to find out how that can happen, and everything that we put on the table to make sure, like Mitchell talked about, the securities. Because when we talk about online, I liken that to a connection here and a connection here. I also liken that to someone who can flip the switch to that connection.
Absolutely. That's
well, you know how it works. This is where you were alluding to before, brother, about how they keep us with the redlining online. The new, I can't think of who said that, but you kind of said the new redlining is the internet. I can't think of who was talking. I think it was brother.
That's what they do.
Okay.
Let me tell you how they do it.
Let me tell you how they do it, because I dealt with it in Kansas City when I reopened Minority Success. When I reopened Minority Success, the reason I got the deal with the Kansas City Star is because a year ago, when you Google Black Kansas City or buy Black Kansas City, not one Black person came up. Not one. Every page was someone white that did something for Black folks, or non-for-profit that was white, that showcased Black folks. Not one business, not you Nieces, Vera Willis, not your gym. No one of you, when you Google Black Kansas City, not one Black business came up. So how they do it is in China, people are looking for Black products. If you go to the Philippines, they're looking for Black. They love Black. They will like Black weed, Black style. They love our culture.
On that.
But when you Google it, we don't come up because that's where they're redlining us. You got to go through Etsy to get to Shaniqua.
So let me just give you the reason why that is. To me, that's just all SEO and algorithm right there. You follow what I'm saying? If we're not doing our jobs because we're not educated about the internet, because I work in digital marketing, so I know exactly what you're talking. Everything you're talking about, I know about, right? And so, with that being said, if we're not educated in SEO, in optimizing our websites or you know, our listings or whatever the case may be, then we're not going to appear. And to be honest with you, we're on the tail end of that anyway. You follow what I'm saying? Just because we get education last, we think about it last. You know what I mean? In some cases, I'm not going to say in all cases, but in some cases, you know what I mean? But that's, once again, to me, that's on us. And I can't say that these white people coming up or whatever is only because they've optimized or they've done something that talked about dealing with Black products, and they optimize their sites, and that's why they're showing up. And that's I can't blame it on anything else.
I work for white folks a lot, right?
Yeah.
They get money.
Absolutely.
They get diversity. Who on this panel has ever gotten $1 for the diversity and equity when you hire a white person? Got a tax break because you hire some Mexicans or some gays.
Now let me jump in here because I want Mr. Nelson.
Never got a tax break. So what happens is when they show that, I'm gonna hire 50 Negroes, they get money.
Believe me. So let me jump in here
to do the SEO.
Kareem, we got Kareem on fire. We got Kareem on fire, man. We're on water.
I need this Tennessee behind me. Y'all got me all in the morning.
Hey, Kareem, that's
okay. But listen, because I got to get Mr. Nelson in on this because you said something.
Sorry, Nelson, brother.
Mitchell, one second. Go ahead.
I want to hear
1 second. So this is what I want to hear from Mr. Nelson. So check this out. One thing that you said, Kareem, is huge. You said that for Shaniqua, we got to go through Google, and then we got to go through Etsy, and we have to go through all these channels to finally get to Shaniqua's boutique, right? Mr. Nelson, we talk about this all the time. How important is it to have Black media? You have Cascade Media Group, Cascade TV, Cascade Sports, What's Up Worldwide, What's Up Africa.
Say this,
so you have all these. How important is it?
Because I'm old and my mind wanders.
Yes, sir.
It do. First of all, let me say our motto has been from day one, Cascade Media Group is the wave of the future, and that wave is the internet, and the future is now. So Kareem and myself are on the same page with that. Now, Kareem talked about we can leapfrog. My intentions when we started Cascade Sports and the other platforms was to inform the Black community, because I felt we could leapfrog because every person, not just Black people, has a phone, and where you would have to go to the library or you would have to do all of these other things. If we were working in concert, our politicians and our leadership, we would be able to connect through the internet. But instead, what you have is the majority community using the platforms properly to program you on all of the materialistic things, that the shiny objects, they would say, to divert your attention that the world is burning. And so hence media, again, controls minds. And one must look as a Black person, as I give the example of the NFL. Everybody on the planet knows the NFL is racist. Those owners might as well be the Klan. But when you put the camera on any of those pro sports, you don't see no Black people. They have to zoom in on you. But what do? You support the Chiefs and all of these other organizations all the way to the bank. Everybody's making money off you. You can't even afford to go to the game, but you buying apparel, you're buying this, you're having parties. Everybody is going to the bank and you're not even paying your bills. And who you give your money to is who you give your power to. So they have us, media, again, hypnotized, because what did I say? They own 100% of all forms of media. And then when they have you programmed across the board to feel that Black is inferior, as they say, you got two grocery stores. They got the same thing in them. And Black people will go to the white grocery store, like they ice is colder or they sugar is sweeter. That's not by accident. And I don't blame them to a certain extent. Because when you program Pavlov's dogs or the monkeys for the food, they're going to go for the food. And where they have everyone, where you're only looking at the meal in front of you. So how can you plan a strategy to free you from bondage? You can't.
So
Carlos,
let's take a quick break. One second. So there's a video. No, I got you. I know. It's one of those conversations. But I'm going to come right back to you. There's a video that Kareem sent that ties exactly into what Mr. Nelson said. And so I want to play that really quick, 1 minute, and then we'll come to you, AB, okay? All right.
What do you say to people that say you turned your back on the
I think it must want to hear from you too.
I think I saw this video.
What do you say to people that say you turned your back on the culture or
exactly
Black people?
100%. I have turned my back on the idea of victimization mentality. We are locked up. We went from 1 and 4. We went from 1 and 4 to 1 and 3, but we always pointing at the white people. But yet we want to spend all of our money on foreigns. We want to spend all our money on luxury as opposed to going and buying some land. America is for sale. And there's a lot of barren land. Disney bought a lot of it in Florida. But the culture has you focused so much on some bitch and pulling up in a foreign and rapping about things that could get you locked up and then saying you about prison reform. Like, it's... Bro, we brainwashed out here, bro. Come on, man.
100%. I saw that video.
I take exception to Mr. Carlos Nelson saying that they only go to the bank, because last Sunday I went to the bank, to the ATM, to get out enough money so I can go to the store to buy enough stuff to watch the game. And
hey man, don't start that.
I know. I was like, you can't be talking about the Chiefs now. Somebody will get mad, you know. But they
I
do
don't
more than my
care,
outfit.
because another thing, when you're in business like I am, I have right now we have an intern out of UMKC that wants to be a producer. He's the only black in the whole damn class. Now, where's he going to do an internship at? And when we don't have strong black businesses that are black owned and black controlled, you're going to have what you have. And then let me bring it all the way out. Our black middle class, they are the detriment, because they try to blackball other people that look just like them because they're not in these cliques when you start talking about these politics. And politics is about money. And all of them, let me really regress real quick. We are interviewing all the HBCU presidents right now. And I have had private conversations with all of them. And the problem with America and the problem with blacks, most of our economy is nonprofit based. Around the country, nonprofit. And that's what they keep you focused on. And they show you a couple of successes, and then you go nonprofit. When you go nonprofit, you have your hand out. And when you have your hand out, that means you need to be dancing to the tune or drinking the Kool-Aid that they're giving you. But they give you that Kool-Aid, and they demand that you give that Kool-Aid to your community. And so when you start talking about these politicians, they don't want to come on shows because then you might ask them something that's uncomfortable. What they want to do is take photo ops. Look at me smiling. I'm at the child care center. Look at me. I'm here. I'm there. They never do it during when they're supposed to be handling your business.
Yeah.
Right when elections and midterms, all of a sudden, all these programs come out. Then on top of that, they have black people representing white issues. You have administrations pushing white agendas with notable black people in your community, and they all do it. I'm not condemning, because they're trying to survive. And as I said, our motto is when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. But the establishment has you believing your community is dead and you better worry about you and your family.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to. I was trying to allude to this earlier about group economics. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this all the time. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Claude Anderson is, but for those out there, you should go look him up. Dr. Claude Anderson, he's been on The Breakfast Club. He's got videos that he's done, but he breaks a lot of this stuff down. And he talks about the divide and the gap with us and how to get ahead. And of course, he talks about reparations too. But nevertheless, group economics, I understand what you said, Kareem, but in my eyes, we still got to have some brick and mortars, some places for us. We still need to go out and buy that land, just like they did in the 1900s. Go buy the land and build our own territories and our own businesses up. And I'm not saying don't do the internet. No, we got to stay in step. We got to stay with the times. You know what I mean? We got to. To me, it all syncs together. You know what I mean? But like Mr. AB said, if they flip the switch on the internet, what you got then? You don't have anything. And so we've got to keep, once again, protecting our situations. We got to think strategically, even from everything that we do, from one thing to the next. And I work in digital. I'm saying this, and I work in digital marketing. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm saying we got to have not just one foothold just in the digital side. We need to have a foundation also side where it's the stability there. So if they cut us off on the internet, we still got our brick and mortar that people can come see us, talk to us, patronize our business, all those good things. I'm saying put both those things together. I'm not saying don't leapfrog and don't get ahead of it. Don't be a part of the digital revolution or whatever. I'm saying yes, we need that. We have to have that. We're going to need that in order to even be successful or compete in this new world that's coming up. You know what I mean? Everything's going digital. We know this already. You know what I mean? But there's still a form of communication that people want, that physical touch, that ambiance when they go to the restaurant and sit down, or when they go to the coffee shop, or they're just going anywhere to meet their friends. They still want those territories to meet. And those are the businesses in my eyes we still need. You're still going to need a doctor's office, still going to need a lawyer's office, still going to need the grocery stores, you're still going to need all these different places. And you can have Walmart, order the groceries online and have them shipped to you. But me personally, I like to go pick my own fruit.
Now I feel like what both of you guys are saying is really true. What I see from Kareem is we can extract the money that's needed online because there's no boundaries, there's no borders, nobody knows who controls the company, etc. And then we extract that money online, and then we can build the brick and mortar. And so we have to have community. One thing that Andrew and I always talk about, and I believe it's a big tenet of reston2050.org, is connection. Right. And so if we have money, but we don't have connection, whenever that that switch is flipped, where do we go from there? And so we definitely have to build community. But again, Kareem is right, too, because online is where we can actually build that community.
And there's no racism. All the things we complain. And I'm not saying I'm not saying digital media. My company's in tech. We've created the app for the Philippines country, a Black firm. We published the Philippines Lifestyle magazine, a Black company.
Nice.
I got these clients online. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I had a 10,000 square feet in downtown Kansas City, 100 employees, $1 million company. And that wasn't my first company in Kansas City. I had limousine companies. I had restaurants in Kansas City. But it was when I got to the Philippines to see my offices when I outsourced, I was pissed off, man. I was like, these motherfuckers see Black folks struggling in the Kansas City, in downtown. Remember, I'm connected. I know the mayors. I know congressmen. I know senators, right? I know billionaires. I grew up with Folgers and the Kaufmans I know these white people too. They're Jewish, actually. I know these Jews. I was in KC magazine. I was in Ingram's magazine. I was Entrepreneur of the Year. I was not just Black folks now. And I get off the plane and I look over and everyone else. I'm the only Black guy that's outsourcing to the Philippines. I'm the only Black company to this day. I'm the only company. I don't mean outsourcing from America. I mean that's in the country that does the business. And
Right.
These white folks, AT&T, Sprint, Western Union, all the companies you're talking about were already here. The Kansas City Star is here too, right? They don't answer their damn phones in Kansas City no more. They don't print their newspaper in Kansas City no more. So we sitting over here figuring out how to get pay for printing, how to get our fashions print designs out. Where Trump ain't never been to China, but damn well his ties are from China. All he's doing is picking swabs and swatches and shit. So while we're sitting here trying to struggle with what they've already ruined, and we coming in as usual late, we're the ones paying for now. We're the ones giving them the money. We're the ones begging to open businesses while their Walmarts and their McDonald's and their Chuck E. Cheese's are closing the fuck down. And now we're begging to get that old ass rundown location. But then when I got here, I was like, why ain't nobody telling niggas that instead of paying $100,000 an issue that I paid to print Minority Success, that's what I paid for 20,000 copies. Every issue. I could do the same thing in Asia, right with Casey magazine, right with New York Times magazine. I have the same printers for $20,000. And they literally didn't tell me that. Like, remember, I'm in the chamber with them. I'm in the organization with them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, right, Nelson?
It's competing.
I'm sitting with your ass at the boardroom. Yeah. And until I got on the plane myself and got off in Manila, I'd never been here before. And I already had clients in Manila. Never seen it before. Didn't know shit. Right? Got off the plane, and I'm at the Asian printer, and they're handing me a Wall Street Journal magazine. They're handing me Kansas City magazines and food magazines and architectural diet. I'm thinking, as samples to say, we print this, we print this. I'm sitting there as a black person, mad as a motherfucker.
Mad because
Like,
they-
let me
go to the printers.
let's take 1 second.
Use no more. Because remember, let me tell you why. Let me tell you before I can. Because they picketed my business. They made me use American paper. That was They put me through so many hoops, and you know what I mean in media, Nelson. They monitored everything to me to then find out you motherfuckers are. So you get to print for 20,000, but I got to use your printers and get certified, or else if I don't have recycled American paper, I can't get my magazines in the airport.
So let's give it 1 second. Let's go ahead and let's thank our audience. Let's thank our audience really quick. And so I appreciate all of you that are tuning in. Appreciate everyone that's tuning in right now. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. As you can see, the conversation is heated, so it's hard for us to stop. But we do appreciate you. I want you to know that.
We
have
appreciate
we appreciate it.
We gotta have an apple.
But I was literally pissed off, man. I was literally hurt.
Kareem,
bad.
you are ready.
I was like, these motherfuckers are lying to all these black folks. We begging to use their white ass companies when they're here.
Right.
Okay.
Fufu is right next door. When you go abroad,
America
Fufu
sold
is
out.
right next door to Gucci.
Yeah.
Listen, wait. Time out. Where my whistle at?
Take a breath.
Time out.
Take a breath.
Okay, so we got this comment here. And Andrew, I want you to address this because it is in the wheelhouse of the restoration. We've got a viewer on YouTube, Roadhog. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your comments. He says you have to own the land, the hog distribution, the packaging, the marketing and internet,
everything
to advertise to the world.
That's right.
Now, one thing that you said, Mitchell, was about Powernomics. You were talking about Dr. Claude Anderson. And
Correct.
so in his book, that's exactly what he teaches, is that if we're only on the distribution end, but we have no hand in manufacturing, we have no hand in the entire process, that switch can be flipped at any time. And so one thing with the restoration, it's a plan to actually create sustainable structures. And so, AB, I want you to talk to the importance of that, owning the entire process.
So Roadhog also said earlier you can have both. You would use United States as a home base to cut out the middleman, and therefore you can have your Black Wall Street, and you can also have your international sales. My question, I have 3 questions before I get off into that. But Mitchell, you're no longer running, or did you already run for office?
I ran for county legislator. And,
so you ran for county legislator.
Yes.
When is the next election for county legislator?
Well, the general is coming up. You know what I mean? So the general is coming up, and so now
we got about 6 weeks.
Right. But see, what happened is that there was no Republican running, so there was, and then
my question is, are you on the ballot? Are you on the ballot?
No, I'm not on the ballot.
Okay, so when is the next? Meaning after this cycle, after this person runs his term,
4 years. 4 years.
4 years. So that is 2026?
Correct.
Okay. So 2026 is coming, and we know this. It sounds as if many of us are talking about what we could do. And it also sounds like some of the blockades, we're using the word as they and them. I'd like to, it's 10 o'clock now, and we have one more hour. My desire is, and I have to run this by Andrew, is that we have a conversation on what can we do without using the words they or them. Meaning,
now listen, so that right there,
we know
that was the purpose.
Hold on, Andrew. We know 2026 is coming up.
Right.
And there's a strong possibility the landscape of Kansas City politics.
Absolutely.
We know what we know. What can we do different? Because you look like Barack Obama, who's about to take office, and you just want us to prepare to vote, but we don't know that there's a whole process involved in not only putting that person in office, following that person in office, standing up when that person needs us to stand up, backing that person when that person speaks our language that no one wants to follow.
Right.
And then reelecting that person, and then reelecting someone next to that person, so he will not be alone. So we know
Now,
2026 is coming up. What is the plan?
So
Mitchell, before you answer that, I want you to hold your thought. Hold your thought. Same conversation. This is why I wanted to have Kareem and Mr. Nelson on, because they both own media companies. And so we've been talking the whole time about brainwashing and how media affects everything. It affects our thought processes, our decision making, etc. When we have black media companies, there's a couple observations that I've made myself, and I'm new to this. And so, Mr. Nelson, Kareem, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to getting a message out to black people, one of the mistakes that a lot of black businesses make is they try to advertise in the mainstream publications, which are extremely expensive. And so a lot of small black businesses, one, can't afford it, including the small politician, the startup politician. They can't afford to get a full page layout in the Kansas City Star. Furthermore, they're advertising to a huge demographic of people that aren't interested in what they have to say. Now we have black media companies that are at a fraction of the cost, where you can get your message directly to the people that you're trying to affect, but there's no support for black media. And so I feel personally that that's a big part of the problem. If we on the consumer end supported black media by putting our eyeballs there versus the traditional media, and then if we as black businesses and black politicians supported black media through putting our advertising dollars there, I believe that would change a lot, because we would be able to create and shape our own narrative. Mr. Nelson, what's your thought on that?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head, but it still comes to being programmed.
Exactly.
Because most of the people that know me know that I speak truth to power, and I basically will insult or talk about everybody. That don't mean I don't love you or don't respect you. But so what I found, and I've been in this business since 2008, people don't go to my network because they don't like me. No matter, we're covering your kids in their sports, we're covering your businesses, we're covering your fashion, and we're covering every aspect of black life. And then when you look at your public officials, let's look at the mayor. I was the first one to do interviews with the mayor when he first got elected, and when he was city council. All you got to do is go to What's Up Kansas City, put politics in there, did dozen interviews with that man. Then as he starts really getting comfortable with social media, he doesn't do interviews with us. He does interviews with everybody else. Then when I approach him and say, how come you can't do an interview at Cascade Media's office where the other media companies have to come to get the story at our place? They don't do it. And it's the same thing, NAACP, the Urban League, Freedom, and what you have a select group of black officials. I talked about this middle class, and it's something that is pervasive. It's like fraternities, sororities, and these groups. They are embedded in our community, and we just this vicious cycle we keep repeating. And again, it's all about educating our community, and the way you can do it right now is through the internet and your phone. But if the people that are in leadership are not putting that message out, these are our networks. These are where you need to be purchasing your goods. These are companies in our community that are serving milk and different things to our school district, and they're not putting anything back into your community. But if you cannot reach your community, and you cannot reach them unless you're spending money with major advertisements. Now, I'll say this on the air. In my company, I have asked black people, let me have your internet list, because you give me who you're sending your things to, then we put them on our newsletter. Now they will be receiving interviews and information that we're doing that might change how they see the world and how they see themselves. But you ask somebody for that, you see what they say. Well, I don't have an internet list. I don't have an email. You got an email list if it's 10 people. And we have to attack this with clarity. And numbers is what determines the order of the day. We have numbers, but we're not plugged in because they're plugged into the Chiefs. They're plugged into this, and they're plugged in to these frivolous things that really take away from their time and their economics. And so people like Claude Anderson and other intellectuals that have given you a strategy, but the strategy don't work if the ears and the eyes are covered. And you can look at that by the proof on how powerful these internet is. Look at all of the hip hop, and look at, instead of buying the block back, look at all the jewelry and all of the things that they're investing in. And at the end of the day, because monkey see, monkey do. And one of the things that media has done, and specific European media, they have convinced you can be like Mike Jordan. Be like Mike. You have about 225, let's say 300 NBA professionals, but you have 300 million kids thinking that they can be in the NBA. And then the establishment has a treadmill that feeds that from kindergarten with these sports that everybody's making money, the uniform people, the referees, the organizations. Everybody's making money from the time you come out your mother's womb to the time you check out as it relates to sports out of college. And can you imagine how much you have spent on tennis shoes, uniforms, and all of that? And so all of that, who you give your money to is who you give your power to. So we are handcuffed because we're not recognizing what's happening, and we're not recognizing what's happening because we're not tuning in to where the knowledge is.
So which
Mitchell, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, well, there's several points, man, a bunch of things to talk about there. But I'll just start out with some of the last few things that you said, Mr. Nelson. In regards to the problem is why some of the folks are not tuning into Black media is because it's not all the buffoonery. It's not all the what is that media where people get beat up, that kind of stuff. So it's not that type of media, and so that's why, so it's not the buffoonery, and so people want to see the buffoonery or something of that nature. But it's got to be something that's going to draw them in to make them, want to see it, and not saying that Black media don't have that information, but people just need to get there so they can see exactly what you're presenting. And like you said, it's got to be advertised. At some point, the corner's got to be turned where there's some element of marketing to get people involved. And I would tell you a better strategy would be to get into some of these high schools and get some of these kids to looking at you following you, and that will be your base. If the kids follow you, then you become popular really fast. And so that's what I would say to any Black media is to try to get the kids to following you in some form of fashion or create something for them. And then it becomes automatically, I don't want to say a fad, but it becomes the end thing to do. Hey, I'm on such and such. I'm checking out such and such. I'm seeing what happened last night at, for the game. I'm seeing what happened at this school. I'm seeing what happened at that school. They're checking out things that they can relate to. And so that's what I would say to that. And there is a deficit in folks advertising in Black media. As a matter of fact, Byron Allen, Ice Cube, and I think what's the other brother's name who got he's got TV1. He's on TV1.
Roland Martin.
Roland Martin.
Yeah, they're all suing GM and those companies who don't spend dollars with black media. They don't spend significant dollars. Let's just say that. And so, which is a big deal. And so things are starting to change. People are starting to realize, man, we're here too. Why are you're spending X amount of dollars with them, but and giving us pennies over here? And so, there's a deficit there. There's no doubt about it. And as far as the politician goes, you're absolutely right. I don't know why Mayor Lucas wouldn't come back on, just even out of love and brotherhood, just to show love, to say, hey, I'm mayor now. I'll still give you an interview, type situation. And so I don't understand that piece, but nevertheless, those are some issues. But once again, to me, it comes back to self. We've got this focused on self mentality and not a group mentality. And in my opinion, we can get all this money separately. There's no problem with that. But even if you get the money separately, you still got to do something to make the group more cohesive. You know what I mean? And we've got to get to that point where we can't just be thinking about just ourselves. Now, I'm not saying all the time, but we got to think about us as a culture too, and what can we do for this culture to help propel us? Because if we keep doing it on our own, just like you, Kareem, you may do it on your own, but we got to get other people there too. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's lonely at the top of the mountain, especially if you got all the money, and every time you come, you got to pay. You know what I mean? Your friends ain't got money. It's like the athlete. If an athlete doesn't employ his friends and put them to work and invest in them in the businesses, kind of like what LeBron James does, or kind of like what Kevin Hart does, then that's a problem. You know what I mean? That's something else going on there. And so we've got to come together and start, and not just in thinking about ourselves, but thinking about others in the community and bringing us all together, so we all do this together, and it's not just 1, 2, 3. And that's where that black media middle class thing comes from, where all these individuals who are making 100, 150, maybe 200, 250,000, or even $500,000, you know what I mean, these dollars, but they're making it. They're not showing others how to make it, or bring others to the table so they can get a piece of the pie at the same time. And so until we start thinking like that more, then we're going to have this fractional, we're still going to be fractured, and everybody's going to have, the thinking this way, that way, and all these, it's not good for us. But
Andrew, you wanted to add something?
Brother AB, you said something to me earlier about the strategies. You want to go ahead and talk?
No, go ahead.
No, you were asking me about the next 4 years and the strategies that we need to come up with. And believe me, I'm not blaming anyone about what happened, and so on and so on. And it is up to us in order to change this. But what I see is that we've got to start educating our people. I remember a time when you turned 18, your mother or your father woke you up that morning on your 18th birthday and said, hey, you need to get up, go down to the post office to register. I didn't know what registering was. You just go down and tell them you registered. What you were doing was you were registering to vote. You follow what I'm saying? That was a ritual in the black community. Automatically, your parents would wake you up and tell you when you turn 18, hey, we need to get you registered to vote. You know what I mean? And so we don't even do that anymore. A lot of kids are not even registered to vote at 18. You know what I'm saying? So, and in my opinion, that's where we could possibly start, or probably should start, as one of the stepping stones, is start with these high school kids and start teaching them about the voting process and how it actually affects them. How the local election affects them more than the national election. Because the local election deals with your taxes, your sidewalks, development in the community. You know what I mean? All these different things is how it affects you. And so if you don't know that, then you just think, hey, it don't matter. My vote don't count. You just start thinking that myopic thinking like everybody else does. And that's not the truth. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if we can start educating folks about the voting process, that, in my opinion, would change it. And it really needs to start with some of the high school kids, freshmen, because in 4 years, guess what? In 4 years, they're going to be 18. In 3 years, sophomore is going to be 18. In 2 years, the junior is going to be 18. In 1 year, the senior is going to be 18. You got a whole voting block of people right there. You know what I mean? And if you've taught them about the voting process, they're going to remember that.
So let me ask or offer a little caveat too, because I remember those days when I turned 18 and I had to go down to register to vote. Part of that was fear, because the other attachment to that was we didn't know whether or not they had done away with the registration for the draft at the time. So parents were telling you got to go down there and register because you're now 18. And we were scared of what they would do. And I say that to say, we started this whole conversation out about the power and the strength of what it took in people and the mindset of Black Wall Street. And what Brother Carlos Nelson was talking about, which is one of my favorite words, is the program that we currently have. And what I'm hearing, and it's just me, but what I'm hearing is part of the program says that we really need to invest in economics. We really need to know about what Dr. Claude Anderson says about what we need to make and how we can leapfrog other people economically. What that is saying to the program, to my program, is that money is more important than people. Money is more important than me, which is why I have no self-esteem, which is why I have no self-value, which is one of the reasons, because I have no self-value and no value for my Black skin, I have no value for a Black media outlet, because I don't want to talk to Black people and I don't want Black people talking to me. I want to make it. I want to make it. And Black people don't make anything. So my mindset is still broken. I don't like what I see. And when I see me in you, I don't like you either. The program. So what I'm asking for us to consider is to consider this particular conversation and then ask ourselves, how many times has this conversation not only been repeated over the past 100 years, specifically starting in the 40s and 50s, but also how many times has this conversation gone on in different settings today? Because this conversation is not new. We know all of this stuff. We know all of the problems. We know everything that we have faced and are facing. But knowledge is not empowering us. We're still talking about they, and we will not put the W with the E because we don't know how.
I don't think it's that we don't know how. I mean, because after this last election, I was so ticked off and so pissed off at my people not being educated enough to even know who to vote for. They just coming to vote. They don't even know who they're voting for, which is like amazing. You follow what I'm saying? Don't even know who you're voting for when you show up. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's on me right now. I'm taking the onus on myself, and I've got to do something about it for this next election.
So what I'm saying is that word I'm hoping that you will understand that now, Andrew.
I want people to join me, but they got to see it.
Oh, and here's the thing.
Whether they see it or not.
Yeah, no. Real quick, let me jump in. Mr. Nelson has to leave. Mr. Nelson has to leave.
Before I bow.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Right now, Cascade Media, we are having discussions in Lincoln Prep, St. Teresa's, Ruskin, and I believe it's Central. If you go to our educational channel, when Trump ran and what have you, we went into all 4 of those schools and we sat down and filmed 5 and 6 high school kids, and they talked about their family's history in voting. We had transgender and what have you. Now we're doing that again right now, and Katina Taylor is arranging that. But what you have all of your systems and your organizations, now they all have these communications directors. And so virtually everything that you're seeing in media has been scripted, because every organization has these communications people, and whatever comes out on the behalf of that institution is scripted. And they don't really want to let you in to have these discussions about voting and what have you. And where can you contact the youth? They have a lock on it. The school districts, the YMCAs, and the boys and girls clubs. But behind suits and all of the other chicanery that white supremacy has going on, most of your people are afraid to get involved in anything because it's like touching the third rail. Nobody's trying to lose their job.
Can I add a caveat before Brother Nelson leaves? My experience is completely different. My business is going on 25 years old. I've been in business since I was in elementary school. Minority Success in Kansas City before now we're revamping it as Black Kansas City. Had 500 Black businesses in Kansas City, paid advertisers. So I've got the support from the community. We featured and helped win the first female mayor, which is Mayor Kay Barnes. We helped Cleaver when he first started. We dealt with a ton of other Black politicians in Kansas City at the time. I'm seeing, my perspective is not, I believe we're better and more connected and richer and more successful now as a Black community, especially in Kansas City, than ever before in history. Yeah, I don't see the same picture you guys are drawing in that way. I think that the issue is that we're begging for something that's 50 years late. So it feels like we didn't grow. But what happens is that, to me, the issue is white folks have a white network, and Black folks and Mexicans and gays and everybody else are begging to get on their network. Whereas when we have a Black network, so my company is a Black company. I'm the only Black American in my company. Okay, just put that out there. Okay, everyone else is African, Asian, British, white, Filipino, obviously. And I think that the thing is that we as Black people need to understand we're number one in the world, second only to white people in America. I think that the thing that we need to do, Brother Nelson, in media, is that push the numbers. Like, stop thinking that you're fucked up. Don't believe the hype. Black America is the shit. Everybody wishes they were us. But we're so busy comparing ourselves to our oppressors that we do not understand. You can have Cascade Media, get a Mexican division, get a gay division, do the exact same thing they do. Because remember this now. The NBA, the NFL, you guys love the Chiefs. The Chiefs wasn't shit until they allowed Black folks to play. It was bankrupt. The NBA wasn't shit until 1950 when they let the first 3 Black folks play. And you guys know this because you're older than me. They were bankrupt. The Negro League was blowing up. They were selling popcorns and chitlins on the side. I imagine, come on now. Now all of a sudden, the stadium there, Patrick, with the baseball stadium there in Kansas City, now it's a vacant area. But my thing is that we're so busy we are amazing. Look at all the brothers on this panel.
We are. Absolutely.
You a Black dude, you didn't win, but how many Mexicans were on there with you? How many gays? How many women? How many Asians? They wasn't even on the damn ballot to lose. But we don't see that part. But what happens is we're so busy with our heads down, picking up the pennies, that we don't realize we don't need to beat them. We've already beat them in many areas. That's why they're diversifying. So it's not the other way around. And Cascade Media, you've got the data. Years and years and years of content. All you got to do is catalog it right, monetize it online right, because remember, you don't need black folks to make that money. White folks are Googling for black folks.
Yeah.
You don't need the black candidates to go on your show. Fuck them if they don't want to go on the show. Go to the white folks, because you know what? The white folks are calling us to put their candidates on our show. Or they're giving you the money and then saying, hey, you got to go on this show. The problem is we watch them diversify with the best black talent, and the black talent won't work for our companies, but we don't diversify and say, okay, you want to play that game? Me, I got over 20 magazines around the world, way beyond my minority success in Kansas City downtown. I had to level the hell up. And when I did it, I realized that's the game. They got offices in the Philippines. Where are we at? They got FUBU here. They got Krispy Kreme here. They got black folks here doing stuff. You just don't hear about it. And instead of us saying, we don't stop this, our black folks are amazing. We are killing it. That is the bullshit.
Hey, Kareem, believe me, I hear what you're saying. I say the same thing. You know, listen to me. From 1876 to come from slavery.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
No, we got the worst slavery. We wasn't just slaves. They beat us. They owned our children.
Yes.
If you traveled the world, we were slaves.
You know what I mean? And so I'm with you on that. I hear exactly what you're saying. I consider us, we are a super, and I don't want to sound, racist or anything like that, but man, there's something about us.
Black Americans specifically.
We are some type of super race to come from this race. I mean, slavery in this many years, in less than 200 years, 100 and some odd years. And now we created the Black Wall Streets, over 200 communities. And that was like 20 years outside. I'm just saying.
We created the R&B, which is nationwide. The NBA is now worldwide.
What I'm saying to you is,
I'm saying we're so stuck domestically, and we don't realize every company you're asking for money from is global.
I'm not asking for money.
Meaning, if you want,
I think you get it all wrong.
Global. If you want GM, all these companies, they aren't making all their money in America. That's why they're so big in America.
There's a reason why we're stuck.
And we're exactly. We're stuck. We're stuck as opposed to realizing you might need to get about 20% Mexicans to vote for you next time. You might need to go over there and talk to some gay people. The same thing the white folks do.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The reason is not about
because the reason is not about has changed. The
reason is not about how much money we made.
Yeah.
In 1963, we were in Washington D.C. Because we were tired of being lynched and killed. 32 years later, we were in Washington, D.C. for the Million Man March because we were tired of being lynched and being killed, figuratively and literally. 20 years later, or 25 years later, we were in Washington, D.C. because, again, we were tired of being lynched and being killed. The average between that 32 years between 1963 and 1995, and that 25 years between 1995 and 2020 is 28 years. So that says that there's a strong possibility that in 28 years, in 2050, we'll be back in Washington, D.C. because we'll be asking them to stop killing us, literally and figuratively, whenever we figure out the game and they change the rules, or they simply strangle us on national TV, which is common to common day lynching. We do not sleep well, no matter how much money we have, knowing that at some point in time, and that word is very powerful in our words because we have not figured out what to do about it. That's why we still try money to put into those holes and help us think that we're sleeping well at night.
It's like Claude Anderson said, man, you got to own the politician and make the laws to change those laws to fit you. Because
we have to be the person. We are the politics. Politicians are representatives of us.
Right. Absolutely.
They're the voice of us.
Absolutely.
2021, January 6th, Donald Trump only spoke to his bosses. And when I say his bosses, it wasn't those people that stormed the Capitol. It was the people that they work for, that they died for, that they bleed for, which is their history, which is their story. And he called them and they said, okay, hey, we are willing to die for our country. They sleep well at night because they can get up and defend themselves. We don't sleep well at night because laws say we cannot defend ourselves. We cannot shoot someone because we feared for our lives.
Can I add another caveat there, you guys? The blessing that my parents, and if you know any about the Jackson family, I was with the Carters. I was with the Haleys. We all went to private school overseas in Africa as kids. I mean, elementary private school. That was the blessing of my life. I think the problem that we have is that, one, I hate to say, white folks say this all the time, but when I travel the world, I realize it. This is their biggest fear is, one, we are the shit. We make a ton of money and they can't do nothing without us. That's one. Two, whether we own it or not, we are rocking it and taking jobs from them and taking money from them. The poorest whites, they're poorer than the poorest blacks. You see it when you travel America too. But what happens is that we do not understand that black people, we can go anywhere in the world and do business. They cannot. We don't need money. They do. We didn't have real estate or anything, but look at how we thrive. And don't compare us to them. Compare it to every black around the world. They got black Asians. They ain't doing what Americans are doing. You got black Australians. They ain't doing what blacks are doing. And no Africans are doing what black Americans are doing. And it's not that we're going to be back protesting again. What it is that we will be up your ass. And they know it. And fight for our rights. Whereas most blacks and around the world don't know how, can't do that, nothing. You don't see any other black around the world besides Africa. Every country has black. There's blacks here in the Philippines. They look just like you and me. You'll see me be like, get the fuck out of here. They look just like us. Don't know no English at all. Then they go, okay, whatever, mind, you ain't really black. But they look, but they don't mean, they're nothing. They're in the offskirts somewhere. If you go to Aborigines in Australia, they're nothing. They're the same as American Indians in the States. And understand what we need to do is stop trying to get what they have left over for us and understand, diversify just like they do. We don't need more of us. To be honest, Black Americans support each other more than any other race I've ever seen. You just don't really think about it because you don't travel. You don't realize most Black businesses only make money off Blacks. That's the problem. It's not the issue. Whites, when they were going broke, all of a sudden niggas can play now. That's right. When the GM's losing money, all of a sudden they want to have Jaguar and all these other cars, and now niggas love Mercedes. We don't think like that. We don't realize it's not that Blacks don't support us. Blacks are not enough. We need to diversify. You need to have Filipinos voting for you. You need to have gays voting for you. You need to do the same thing. And mind you, we can do it better than white people. But we don't realize that yet. White people, when Black Lives Matter happened, I was abroad. I had a radio show and a TV show in Asia at that time. And we were on lockdown from 2018. When Black Lives Matter, they protested everywhere for us. I know you saw it in Kansas City, but I was here to watch Filipinos walk up to the embassy, which is all white folks pretty much, and protest. I got a mug, I got a t-shirt somewhere. Like, what the fuck? White folks were scared to walk the streets. Through the whole BLM, every white person left the Philippines during lockdown. They went home to Kansas, to Iowa, because the world was like, wait a second. But we don't see that part in America. You don't realize they boycotted white people from American white, and they separate around the world. European whites.
They showed that. We saw that.
These white folks would say, Kareem, I got to go. I can't. Can you help me with my company? I got to go home. I can't. I'm scared to go down the street. So all of a sudden, we don't realize, no, the problem is we try to be too Black. We already Black. We think that we're not doing good. We think we don't support. Not true. My minority success, 500 paid black businesses. I cannot say black folk didn't support me. Black folks support me before AT&T did. They supported me before freaking Sprint did. All those big companies. But at the end of the day, I had to diversify. I couldn't just do with black folks. I had to have AT&T. I had to have Sprint. We had a Spanish section. We have a gay section. But that's the same problem white businesses have.
Right here. Let me ask you this question, Kareem. With those 500 paid advertisers, do they pay taxes anywhere?
I don't know what do you mean? As a business owner, you mean?
Yeah. Do they pay taxes to the government? To their
I
government?
assume there are businesses. Remember, this is Peachtree, Vera Willis. This is Gates. This is, Billy's Barbershop. 500. All of them weren't legit. Some of them were massage therapists, small businesses. But what I'm saying is they supported.
Okay, so my question is, of these 500 that you have just locally, and those others that you have internationally, do they pay taxes to their government, even internationally? And the second question to that is, do they look for tax write-offs?
Only in America, white companies do they do that.
Okay. So my question now is there a possibility that your network would even consider supporting a 501c3 known as Elevating Men to help them get started?
Well, we're helping you now, right? We're
financially, because we're talking finances. With the whole conversation.
Well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. What I've learned, man. I've never had a grant. I've never had a government loan. I've never been minority certified. Fuck that shit. I'm like 3 years bank statements. Give me a blood test. Now my construction company did, because that's kind of required in construction, but my company never.
Okay, so that's a beautiful
thing. So what I'm going to say that to you this way, is that you don't need someone to support you. You need to learn how to market to the people. Okay. Because once you learn that, what happens is the game changes. Because now you have the people, you have the eyeballs, you have you have it. Like now what we're doing here, you've got the viewers. You don't need any help. You give me my money that you owe me. They'll call you. I didn't call Kansas City Star. They called me. And when I gave them the deal that I wanted, it was the first time in history they'd ever done that before. They came back to me with a bigger opportunity than what I imagined. And we gave 900 black businesses had free advertising in this section in the Kansas City Star. First time in history that ever happened.
Elevating Men doesn't advertise yet.
But I'm saying, you're advertising right now, brother. People are watching you. This is it.
Elevating Men doesn't advertise yet, and if we did advertise, we'd probably go through Kareem Jackson's advertising business and Mitchell Sutton's advertising business to support them. But right now, we don't advertise.
But you're advertising now. You're on media. This is advertising. Let me tell you the secret. This show could make no money. But if you become popular and AL becomes popular and all of a sudden his insurance business doubles, because remember, I didn't make money in Kansas City. But minority success did not make no damn money. My rent was $10,000 a month at 100 employees, and printing was 100,000 issue 4 times a year. I needed $500,000. This is before I could even eat some noodles. What happened was we had sales, but I'm saying it didn't make money. It didn't make money for me as an owner. I didn't make a lot of profit. But what it did, and I learned about media, is that it leveraged me to where the Philippines called me. I didn't call the Philippines. Nestle called me. I didn't call Nestle. So what's happened is that we learned that being media, having popularity or celebrity, and having this show should open other doors that may not be black, so that then you can fund the black folks at a loss. The same as the white folks do. White folks invest in the black community to get the eyeballs so they can go showcase, hey, look at our black show on our white network. We've got 10,000 black folks watching every day. Give me that money, Mayor K. Barnes. Give me that money, Senator White person.
So what are you
Give me
saying? So what I think I hear
okay.
you saying is we need to go out and find white persons to invest in us, so that what was the last thing that you said? That the white people will go out and find
The corporations are in general, but
to
yeah.
support, so that they can get their message out.
Well, what I'm saying is that leverage what you have. You've got $1 million worth of money on this show right now, I'm sure tonight. I mean, all of us are together. We have $1 million sitting here on the show, or more.
I'm sorry.
That's
the
what
way
you
my
tell
bank
to
account is
other
set up-
companies, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to. I don't elevating men. That's your money. You're elevating yourself. You know, like I'm sure we talk about some insurance. AL, you might get some people calling you, say, hey, I saw the show or whatever. I need to know about insurance, or my school. I want you to come into my school and talk about insurance. Or brother, you know, you didn't win the campaign, but can you consult me on my campaign? Right?
Yeah.
We need to learn how to leverage us, because we are the money. We don't need money. I don't need money to do what I do in Asia. What I learned was that we're already good at what we do. If your popularity on this show can leverage you to make more money, elevating men doesn't ever need to have any income.
Okay, I'm sorry, but elevating men, after the show goes off, they have bills, they have families, they have needs. That hierarchy that Maslow talked about, it's real. Leveraging, you know, and that's what a lot of Black people do. We leverage, and then we get on shows and we talk about, hey, we need to make the money, and the money is out there, and this is where you get the money from. Yeah.
So
It's
I think what he
not adding up right now.
I think you're missing my connection. What I'm saying is that why do white people diversify? Why do white companies have DEI? Remember, they got to pay up front. That person, why does a white company, why did the NBA let Black players play? It was money, leverage. There was no money for them in it.
Yeah,
we're already Black. We don't need to get Black people to be on our show. We're already Black. So now that you have these Black folks, and you have this thing, this elevating men. Now you need to think, well, who am I going to go? Who wants this market? Who wants Kareem? Who wants AL? Who? So who, to me, off my head, the person that you should be talking to is those insurance companies, AL. They should be sponsoring the show. You're working for them for free. That's what I learned. I couldn't get Pepsi and Coke in America, but I got them in Asia. I couldn't get a penny from Hooters in America, but I got them in Asia. So what happens is that I got bills too. I've been in business doing this for 25 years. I paid my bills, but it was advertisers. But I was leveraging. Remember, my magazine was free before. They're not free no more, but they were free before. I would leverage to the white companies, you know, or the Black companies for that matter, what I had. Hey, I have 100 viewers. Hey, I have 20,000 readers, 100,000 readers. Hey, my launch party has 2,000 people that came to my launch party. And I would get them to buy booths. I would get them to buy advertising. That's what I would do. So now that Elevating Men has viewers, they have us, they have these great topics. Now hit one of these companies up to get advertising on the show.
I mean, we have this beautiful concept, but what I'm hearing is it sounded as if you said that they didn't. Your contracts came when you went abroad. You're paying contracts.
No. I had my AT&T, Sprint. They were all my sponsors in Kansas City, plus the 500 Black businesses. We had big sponsors, you know. Okay. But what I'm saying that was nothing. Money, 20,000 from AT&T every issue, things like that. 100,000 per issue from Carter Broadcast Group.
Okay, but you had a whole music section just for printing.
Exactly.
So you didn't make money.
Me, myself, as a person, no, I didn't make a lot of net.
So when you moved overseas, a lot of those interruptions and distractions were eased up. So now you made a profit.
was a little more complicated than that. But what I'm saying is that I was able to leverage what I did and be. This is 25 years. Almost 25 years. I've been in business. This is longer than Minority Success. I've been in business. My main business is a business and community and tech development company. It's always has been. Back in the day, I called myself a marketing firm. The marketing firm is the one that took originally the magazine Minority Success to the Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman Foundation was paying me as a consultant to help them get niggas. They had an issue getting niggas to go to the Kauffman Foundation and pass their little fast track class. It was brand new. And I said, hey, you need a publication. You want to reach Black folks. You need something that Black folks we had nothing at that time. I said, you need to showcase successful Black people. Kauffman pulled out. They said Black folks don't read. I kept the deal and I owned it. And I proved myself to be correct with the 500 people that were advertising and all that stuff like that. Because back then it was about. So what I'm saying is that we've always been a marketing business and development business. Like you guys have your own businesses. Elevating Men can make money, but it may not come through Elevating Men. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so that
then mind you too. I'm gonna tell you this too, and you guys know this. If Elevating Men makes money, you got to pay taxes on your money. So mind you, I didn't make money, but of course, I had a car, I had a house, I had offices, I had suits, I had Capital Grill dinners and lunches. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I didn't live good, but it was like I really didn't cross that threshold until it wasn't that I went abroad. My company was able to leverage what we were doing, and it took me global. The same business. So now instead of just having Minority Success in Kansas City, now we launched.
Big congratulations. That's a big congratulations. The thing is I have family. I have kids in Texas. I have kids here, and I have kids elsewhere. For me to move abroad, I'd lose all my money traveling back to the States just to be a father. So that doesn't work.
I'd never been to the Philippines. I'd never been abroad. When I first started, I'd never seen it. Yeah, I'm just saying I made the money and I had sponsors and investors to do it, but I'd never seen the Philippines. I'd never seen Asia before.
I'm sorry, I thought you lived overseas.
No, I'm saying when I first started, and I live back and forth. I still have a house in Kansas City. I still have a car in Kansas City.
Okay.
I go back and forth. Yeah, I went when I saw the opportunity was outrageous. I said, this real? I said, let me go on the plane and go see what the hell is going on. That's when I went. Okay. But I'm saying I was able to leverage the media part of my company because everyone doesn't see color.
So basically right now, our conversation is that we need to learn how to leverage.
You need to use Elevating Men to leverage your core business. Okay. I use Minority Success to leverage my core business.
Okay. With that said, Mitchell, what are you going to do about 2026? And how are you going to leverage support?
Well, that's just, once again, it's getting started early, number one. Getting started early. In my opinion, I probably started a little bit late in the campaign. You know what I mean? But that's on me. But for the most part, getting started early, I did a lot for people to know who I was. And even in the district, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing my sign anywhere in the district.
Forgive me, Mitchell. We got 7 minutes. And you were talking about what you did. You got 2026 is coming up. What are you going to do?
Okay. So what I'm going to do is once again, some of the things that I talked about was reaching back and going into the schools. That's one of the strategies, first and foremost. Second strategy is starting off early, a little bit earlier than normal, because I think it's necessary. You have to do more door knocking and things of that nature. The other part of that is developing my own ballot. Because I see that's what most people go when they go into the polls. They're looking for the easiest route to vote, and if you got a ballot and this other person has a ballot, it's probably just going to be based on whoever who's handed them that ballot at that point. But have my own ballot, you'll have a better chance of winning. That's the other part of that, and then just rallying some folks to get behind me. You know what I mean? Of course, I'll do all the digital media stuff, whether it's, and in my opinion, you got to use all media. You can't just use one source of media, but it's going to have to be all media, whether it's black media, one of the white media, the Call or the Globe or the Missouri Post Dispatch. all those medias have to be used in order to do this, because people are using different media. They have their own media that they're looking for. And so to me, that's my strategy, just trying to align with other folks. And so what I will be doing though here in the next week or so is reaching out to some of those people who are actually running and getting behind them and asking them, what can I help you with? Or even offering them suggestions, because they will come back. They won't forget that part. You know what I mean? Whether they win, lose, or draw, they won't forget that. And they will basically, if I decide to run again, they'll get behind me. So those are my strategies in regards to that. You got me giving my game plan up. Hopefully my opponents are not online listening right now.
And the thing is, brother, like we've been trying to do that vote thing with AL. It might be good for you to jump on board with that now, because we're trying to do that for the next 6 weeks. And I'll tell you, that's the leverage. Yeah, that's the leverage. That it's like you we're not charging for the vote edition. It's free. It's online, in print, and digital. If we do it in 6 weeks, it's kind of, we've been like, damn, we can't do it. You know, we can't reach. We don't know who these candidates are. They're embarrassing to market as a publishing person. I'm going to market you to vote for you, but you haven't made a post on Twitter in 2 years. Why would I promote you? But okay, you're black. Okay, I'll do it. You know, and we've been advised by black politicians to say you might want to include the Mexicans and the Latinos, you know, in that ballot, make it black and brown, not black. But get in with us now early, because by the time the thing happens and we already have something established for the 4 years, and we can push you because now we've already got it done. You feel me? So now you can leverage us. You can leverage, you know, the elevating men in 4 years from now. That's what they do. And I've noticed that a lot. The blacks, we're last minute in a lot of that stuff. And I've heard this from Senator Haley's told me the same thing. You know, that we're just late. They're just now 6 weeks out starting to throw money and advertise for their campaign. You know, and not to us. We've never made, you know, but to other sources, I assume. And that's what happens. We do not leverage. And like, you need to be in the Latino papers, on the Latino station.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know, we be at them Latino churches the same as the white folks do us.
Yeah,
bring your hot sauce to the taco shop. Bring your sauce. The same thing they do to us.
In my district, there's a certain part of the city that's Latino and whatnot, but it's not very much. You know what I mean? So it was a small quantity, which is the Northeast area. You know, but you got to realize what's happening even on that end, dealing with the voting piece and the redistricting. You know, the district went all the way out to Raytown. The county district, my district, went all the way out to Raytown. So what that meant to me,
they were really upset about those redistricting too. I heard about that.
Well, what it's doing is diluting the black vote. We always had a stronghold on our districts, and now they're setting us up to where in the next 4 years we're probably going to see Caucasian folks running against traditional districts that were normally black folks ran. And so that's going to create an issue in terms of that, because you got so much gentrification going on in neighborhoods and things of that nature. And then you've annexed and added, you know, Raytown into the district. So now you have a larger issue going on there. You follow what I'm saying? And so this is the part that behooves me why Freedom Inc. is not looking at things like that and understanding. Yeah, you're gonna have in the next 4 years, you're gonna have some white folks voting in these traditionally black places or black districts that have always been black, which means we won't even have that anymore. You know what I mean? So from city council to county legislator, all these different places. So looks like AL's got to wrap up here, but I don't want to overstep my bounds. Did I answer the question?
No. We do have to wrap up, and we actually made a commitment. And one other thing that we didn't get a chance to mention, we got so serious here. It's AB's birthday, Andrew Boykin's birthday, and so if one of y'all want to bust out singing, we'll go ahead and take that.
Happy birthday to you! Look, happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, Grandpapa AB.
There we go.
Happy birthday to you. She's got kids all over the world. I certainly got grandkids too.
Thank you.
And now, hold on. We talked about black businesses. We got to keep our promises. And so on the flyer, for those of you that saw the flyer, it said that you would have an opportunity to win free tickets to the stage play Greenwood, the hidden truth behind Black Wall Street. And so before we wrap up, Mitchell, if you can just give us a quick rundown, when, where, what's going to be going on. What we're going to do is we're going to pick, let's say, 2 random people that were watching and commenting today. We'll go through the likes, we'll go through the shares, we'll go through the comments, and we'll reach out to you. Elevating Men will reach out to you, and we'll make sure that we facilitate those tickets. But tell us one more time about the play.
October 7th at the Music Hall, downtown Kansas City, 1301 East 13th Street, Black Wall Street. You got Byron Cage, the gospel singer. You got Shirley Murdoch, the R&B and gospel singer, who are featured in this play. And so it should come out. It will definitely be an eye-opening play. It's really real, really realistic. They don't hold back in the commentary in terms of what they say on stage, and I think people will enjoy it. But for more than anything, it's the educational piece, learning about what happened. So, and for the tickets, you'll get the ticket. I'll have the tickets to you tomorrow. No worries.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Kareem, any final thoughts, final words? This show is sponsored by Black KC Magazine. This is our owner, Kareem Jackson. Any final thoughts, last words? How can they connect with you? And any other information you want to put out?
Well, LinkedIn, of course, is a great place to connect. You guys can go to creamantonio.com. We do business, community, and tech development. We do Black Kansas City. We also have Black Britain. We have the Philippines Magazine. We have I Love Dreadlocks. We have Philippines Ink Tattoo. We do a lot of media. But the reason that we do media is to showcase our clients. So we have a lot of businesses that we help develop, and then we create publications that help market these guys. Because every country, most people, the issue is media right now. Even if it's not about tech and online, the issue is how do you get your company out there? How do you grow? How do you take advantage of this opportunity? And the Black folks, we need to understand we are number, I think, 14 or 16 in the world for economies. So this hype about we're not doing good, that ain't it. The hype that we don't support each other, that ain't it either. We may not support each other compared to in the hood or this connection, but as a global situation, the whole world looks to Black America as a beacon of how to do things, how to dance, how to sing, how to do business, how to go from slavery to whatever. I know people here, they study Roots, which is David Haley, Senator Haley's family's book that was written with my family in Africa. They studied in school in Asia. In school, whereas in America, you see they're doing this whole thing on they don't want to have whatever they call the racial education there, whatever they call it now, but they change the words all the time.
CRT.
Yeah, before they called it African history and they called it Black, but they study roots in Asia because they look at it as we need to overcome, like in the Philippines, the Japanese and the Spanish. How did Black people do it? So I think the problem is a lot of the times that we need to understand that, one, we are the shit, and that paradigm needs to shift. When you walk to companies or whatever, you need to really have that. And when you go global, if you're buying something from China for your business, for your Etsy store, for your salon, for your barbershop, if you're doing that, then why is it that you can't sell something in China, whether it's your seasoning, whether it's your consulting services, whether it's your sponsorships? Why are you not getting sponsors? My show, Hooters Philippines, is one of our sponsors. It's like people, we need to understand everyone likes Black Americans. And I believe that all of us need to understand, stop focusing on white people. They're, as you know, they're a dying breed. The racism is ridiculous. The world is against it. Start trying to get Mexico, France, Europe, Asia, India, Africa, meaning Ghana, Nigeria, all these places, because at the end of the day, all of them, it's not white folks that are still in the hip hop and the Black culture. It's not them. It's just that we're not present. So why would I not buy FUBU and put FUBU right next to Gucci in Asia, Australia, Singapore? FUBU is right next door to Gucci and Prada and all those other bougie stores. They cost the same as buying a Gucci bag to buy you a FUBU hoodie in Asia. I can't even afford the damn things. But we didn't think of that. It wasn't until he sold to the white folks that he went global. And I think that that's where we message. That's where we miss the message, is that we need to understand that. So long story short, if you guys need help with your companies and building your business and going global, then creamantonio.com is where my company is. blackkanscitymag.com. We're rebooting that Minority Success. We've got about 1,000 Black businesses now on that website. We're trying to do a great thing. And the whole thing for us is being that when you Google Black Kansas City or buy Black Kansas City, now we're one of the people that come up. And another caveat, I'm the only Black American in my company. I'm just putting that out there. I have partners and things like that, but I have British, I have Asian. I said, we need to get out of that mentality. Understand, yeah, if we have a Black company, that's great. But you need to diversify the same as the white folks do. You need to have ads for your barbecue restaurant. You need Asian ads and Spanish ads, the same as white folks do. Throw some gays where they look in an ad eating your barbecue. Play the game because we're better at it than they are. We just don't know it yet. That's all I got to say.
Listen, man, this show, 2 hours of pure knowledge and information from some very wise men. Last but not least, and I've got a personal request here. At the bottom of the screen, you see a website scrolling across. It says restin2050.org. That is Andrew Boykin's 501c3, the restoration. It is his birthday. He's our brother. And so if you would like to support us, go to restin2050.org. There's a lot of information there. But Andrew, I want to give you the floor for final words.
So in 2050, I will be about 87 years old and may not be here. But there's a lot of stuff that I've learned, not only tonight, but in 1970 and by the internet from the 1960s, 40s, 20s, and even in the 1800s. I'm tired of having the same conversation. I'm tired of having the passionate conversation. I'm tired of the talk. Restin 2050 asks us to build a tomorrow, build the foundation and the structure for tomorrow, so that this particular conversation will end. We will not be talking about we will not be talking about what we don't do. We will not be talking about our pains. In 2050, we will have planted a garden, planted a seed that they will actually nourish and pass on to the year 2100. In 2100, they will then take that seedling, that sprout, and nourish it and pass it on to the year 2050. And in 2050, they will then begin to see the spread of that harvest, and they will still take care of it and protect it with all of their heart and their body and their soul, so that the year 2246 will be beautiful. And they will read our story of what we did, so that the stories that we talked about of what we didn't do, of what we need to do, will not be included in that story. We need you.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're going to be back again next Monday. We've got a
You're tuning into the fitness way, Mike's way. So you better get ready.
Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the most prosperous African-American communities in the country. But on May 31st that year, 35 city blocks went up in flames. Now, hear the true story and the most prolific stage play. Don't miss Deep Greenwood, the hidden truth of Black Wall Street, with special musical guests Byron Cage and Shirley Murdoch. Friday, October 7th, 7 p.m. in the Kansas City Music Hall. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Presented by the Self Lility Group.